How is it that we find ourselves surrounded by such complexity, such elegance?
The genes of you and me, the genes of you and me, we're all made of DNA. We're all made of the same chemical DNA. We're all made of DNA.
Hi, you're listening to DNA Today, a podcast and radio show where we discover new advances in the world of genetics. From genetic technology like CRISPR to rare diseases to new research, we have you covered. For a decade, DNA Today has brought you the voices of leaders in genetics. I'm Kira Dineen. I'm a certified genetic counselor and your host. This episode is a special installment. We are sharing a recording of the PhenoTips Speaker Series. This monthly webinar is hosted by myself and sometimes, like in this episode, my colleague, Dr. Pawel Buckowicz. The webinar is sponsored by PhenoTips. During these live events, we interview leaders in the field of genetics and moderate questions live from the audience. Check out upcoming installments by heading over to phenotips.com, where you can also stream all webinars from the last year and a half. Just like you, I was a listener for this conversation, and I immensely enjoyed hearing all of the perspectives from Dr. Kingsmore, Dr. Summar, and Dr. Thomas. I had interviewed Dr. Kingsmore and Dr. Summar before on the PhenoTips Speaker Series, and I really appreciate everyone's expert viewpoint in this episode.
The topic for today's webinar is advances in rare disease diagnosis. I'm your host, Dr. Pawel Buckowicz. I'm pleased to be joined by our guest panelists, Dr. Ellen Thomas, Dr. Marshall Summar, and the returning Dr. Stephen Kingsmore.
So I am a clinical geneticist in the UK, and I worked on the 100,000 Genomes project, and now working as both the clinical lead for rare disease and also as the clinical safety officer at Genomics England.
My name is Marshall Summar. I'm a clinician by trade, but also have done a little bit of research here and there.
I'm Stephen Kingsmore. I'm the president and CEO of Rady Children's Institute for Genomic Medicine.
There's been a lot of effort over the last decade to decrease, we call it the diagnostic odyssey.
20-year diagnostic odysseys that we've all seen our patients go through, but we still have plenty of exciting advances still to come. But I think we as practitioners are really having to adapt the way that we think about and speak about the diagnostic process and the outcomes of that process.
You know, if we're going to fill in all the blank spots, which is going to take a long time to do, for me, good genotype data without a phenotype is like the world's biggest lever with no fulcrum.
Well, I think this is the future, right? Just fabulously structured data. And, so how do we start to move into this area and really utilize that data?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that we will continue to see increases in diagnostic yield with new technologies and new pipelines and bigger data sets and better matching of data around the world.
I think if you can't do that, evaluating a therapy or trying to just, figure out what's the best way to take care of it becomes a very difficult, problem.
And that's the most exciting thing, I think, for genetics, is it's moving from being a descriptive field to a therapeutic field. It's going to just completely change the way we think about things.
Oh, I think it's already changed it. I think it's an exciting time.
For more information about today's episode, visit dnapodcast.com, where you can also stream all episodes of the show. We encourage your questions, comments, guest pitches, and ideas. Send them all into info@dnapodcast.com. Search DNA Today on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, so you can connect with us there. And a favor, please rate and review the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. This truly helps us climb the charts and allow more genetic nerds like yourself to find the show. DNA Today is hosted and produced by myself, Kira Dineen. Our social media lead is Corinne Merlino. Our video lead is Amanda Andrioli. Thanks for listening, and join us next time to discover new advances in the world of genetics.
The genes of you and me, the genes of you and me, we're all made of DNA. We're all made of the same chemical DNA. We're all made of